This podcast is brought to you by Podspot Events.
Hello and welcome to the Bondi podcast. I'm your host, Chris Beattie. This episode is the first in a series of shorter episodes called Bondi Shorts, where we focus in on something specific within the Bondi community. The first cab off the rank is the amazing Instagram account Morning Bondi. And our guest is the man behind the camera and the account, Omri Trigger, or Amo, as most of us know him by. I hope you enjoy this Bondi short episode, and as always, give us a follow on Instagram at the Bondi Podcast to stay up to date with all of our guests and episodes. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll find all of our episodes on Spotify. Cheers. Amo, welcome to the Bondi Podcast. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Thanks, Grace. Thanks, mate.
Look, we're here to talk about your Instagram account, Morning Bondi, one of my favourite Instagram accounts, by the way. But first, we're going to ask you the same question we ask all of our guests. Amo, what is your favourite thing about Bondi?
The people in the morning. Like, I think the morning community is quite special. And I think that's what kind of helped me carry on because, again, I never intended to take photos of Bondi Beach every morning. I came here, obviously, French. I came here like 14 years ago and been living in Bondi since then. 13 years. And I was training with friends, like for an obstacle course. And we were training quite early, around 6 a.m. And I started to witness the sunrise every morning, changing colors and all the activities that were kind of happening around the sunrise, obviously, like runners and, the surfers and meditations. And yeah, I started to take photos of it. What I love about Bondi and what I love about my morning Bondi routine is really kind of, I bump into, let's say 20 people, 10 to 20 people every day, every morning, sometimes very quick chats, sometimes a bit deeper, sometimes a bit better. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I learned so much and I met, hundreds, thousands of people down on the beach and I love that.
Yeah, that morning community and mornings in Bondi are definitely two of my favorite things about living here. Were you a morning person before you moved to Bondi?
Typical French, not at all.
That's why I asked the question.
I came here, I was like, yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. I would kind of late nights, like in France, everything is a bit later. And then you go to bed at 12, you wake up at 9. I'm from Paris, so there's nothing to do before 8 or 9. Not even a bakery is open.
Are the coffee shops not open?
Yeah, no coffee shops. And so it's one of those things where, I guess you learn how to wake up early, I guess. And but yeah, you wake up with the sun. You kind of go to bed. You try it with the sun, but usually you go much later than this. But no, I was definitely not a morning person before. No, it's been very much like kind of that move to Australia, that move here around Sydney, where I just feel like whenever I sleep in, up to 6:30 or 7, I'm like, oh gosh, like the biggest FOMO. I'm like, what did I miss? Did I miss a beautiful sunrise? The dolphins are, in the bay. You know that you're going to miss out on a few things. So now it's becoming like one of those things where I don't even think. It's like, 5:30, depending on the seasons, I wake up and then I just go down.
Perfect, mate. Beautiful. I think you nearly become a product of your environment in some way. Bondi's not got that much of a nightlife and everything's closed at like 10 o'clock. And then, as you say, the mornings are so beautiful.
Yeah.
People typically move here and then the routine or their schedule sort of shifts toward more to getting up early and then, bed at around like 9 or 10.
Yeah. No, but that's pretty much me as well. Around 10:30, 11, that's the problem is sometimes it's too late, but I still do it. And again, it's very hard not to wake up when you know that it's going to be a nice sunrise. The past few days, as we all know, it's been raining, so it's like, I can enjoy sleeping, but otherwise, no, I like to be down there and see the sunrise.
Fair enough. So look, before we get into sort of the background and the history of Morning Bondi.
Apparently, I'm the first one drinking beers. Is that right?
You are, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's allowed.
Cheers. Yeah.
Good on you, mate. Let's find out a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Amo, the man behind the camera. So you mentioned that you grew up in Paris.
Yeah.
What was growing up in Paris like?
So yeah, grew up in Paris. Obviously born there around Paris, the Parisian suburbs, and did everything, all my studies. I came here in Australia almost 20 years ago to do a master degree at Macquarie University. So for a year, And then there was like kind of a good opportunity for me to go back to France to launch a TV production business with two business partners. So straight after my master degree, I flew back to France, like literally the next day, I think, and I started that business. And I had this for 3 years, which was going very well and all that. But then I guess I was missing a lot Australia, and met my wife now. And I kept on telling her about how good life in Australia would be. If we were to go there.
So you met her in Paris?
Yeah, met her in Paris. Yeah, and then it was that moment in my life where I was like, gosh, I work so hard, and I don't necessarily enjoy my everyday, because when you produce one TV commercial, it's fun. 2, 3, 4. When you've been producing 100 TV commercials, or corporate videos and music clips and all those different elements, then there's a sense of repetition, and you just find the right talents, right director, the right thing. But then just didn't feel that much of a challenge in a way. And she was in PR in Paris, and she didn't really enjoy it. And she was like, what about going to Australia? You always told me it was going back to Australia for you, but going back for her was the first time. And then that's what happened like 14 years ago, and we were not meant to stay that long, but you know how good life here is. So we decided to stay here, and it's been amazing.
And did you come to Sydney and Bondi straight away?
Yeah. We landed here, and obviously I had a few friends from my time back at Macquarie, so we stayed in Drummond, I think, for 3 months, and then we went to the city. And then every weekend, or even every night, even sometimes, to learn how to surf, I was catching the 333 or whatever bus, I can't even remember, the 380 and 333 to go back to Bondi with my mini Mal, like the big boards, and I was like, and at some stage we were like, okay, we need to get married, and I was like, we're going to have to live together, and stop sharing an apartment. What about if we were living in Bondi? It would be so much easier. And that's what happened, and so we moved here like 13 years ago. So the first year was like kind of between Surrey Hills and Drummoyne, and then we arrived like here 13 years ago.
Amazing. So when you first came over to Australia, what were you doing for work then, Amo?
So I got employed to launch a business, which was in the TV advertising business.
So is it similar to what you were doing?
Yeah, very similar, but less the production side, more the strategic and the creative side. And it was basically TV package at a low cost, where you could kind of we were offering to the clients the opportunity to do everything from that initial brief to the creative, to the productions, as well as the media buy. So that was kind of what I started doing, and I was employed to launch that business, which was obviously very exciting, because that was very much on par with what I knew, with on top of this all that creativity and the strategy part. And then over time, was doing this, obviously the first Facebook pages were starting to kind of pop up. I'm talking 13 years ago. That was new, was that new things, the Facebook. And then I started to tell my clients, I was like, what about if we were to put those TV commercials on Facebook and see, get better, you are not even talking about reach, you are talking about taps, you are talking about impressions. I don't even remember what we were talking about back then, but definitely not. And then, clients would literally, give me money and say, hey, do this, mate, do that. I had no idea what I was talking about. I was literally learning in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I was like, what about if we were doing this and pushing this on Facebook like this? We've got more people that can see your TV commercial, and posting TV commercial used to be cool on Facebook, And then, I saw that there was kind of clearly an appetite for clients to kind of, get a good hold of what was going on Facebook and, those social channels, I guess. And that's where I started to kind of, really much specialize myself in.
Yeah. So was it that first interaction with putting client adverts on Facebook? Was that where you first sort of saw the power of social media and what it could potentially become?
Yeah, 100%. I was literally learning again, no one knew what was going on with Facebook. There was, obviously US brands, but then the first Facebook pages were starting here in Australia, and no one had a clue about what was going on. We were doing gated competitions, so you'd like that page to win something, those type of things. Where, so we were doing a lot of different. And then you could see people rallying, and the fan base used to be called fans. Fans rallying up, and then telling clients, "Hey, you've got X number of fans now. It's amazing. It's a big deal." And then and then that's kind of started, obviously, I guess even more in Bondi, because I was taking photos. I was posting this on my personal Facebook, But then I was like, hang on, like, I keep on telling brands what to do on Facebook pages. What about if I was pushing that Facebook album that I used to populate every day for my French friends? What if I was putting this on Facebook page? And that's what happened. It's like, did it. And then, started to basically get more people to see the content, which were terrible, by the way. Like, the photos were terrible. I was taking photos with the iPhone 3G. Were terrible. Like, the horizon line was...
About 4 pixels.
Yeah, exactly. Awful photos. Like, sometimes I look back because you can still look back. And I'm like, oh, my God, what did I think? It's like terrible photos.
So did it start... Morning Bondi started off on Facebook before migrating to Instagram?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I've got like nothing. I've got 10,000 followers or 10,000 fans on Facebook. Nothing, or 15, whatever. But all organically, by the way. That's the thing. Is like everything with Morning Bondi has been very organic. Like I refuse to do any paid. So it's all kind of, which I kind of like or not like. I could have put like $100, $200, but it's always been a hobby, and I want to keep it like this as well. It's not. It's a hobby. It's what makes me happy in the morning. But it's not something I want to do kind of professionally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's get into Morning Bondi then. So for those listening or watching who maybe aren't familiar with Morning Bondi's Instagram account, what is Morning Bondi?
Morning Bondi. It's, what do I call it? I call it the photo diary of a French guy. I don't say this, but basically of like, Bondi in the morning from, 6 a.m. to 7:30 every day, unless it's raining. And over time you become a bit picky, but just take photos of what's going on in front of me. But that's kind of what people mainly see. But like before that, it's really much that sense of like, the community. I've always been training with friends in the morning, and started exercising, as I said, and then started to. It was like, hey, I'm with my mates. I take photos. We hang out for coffee. We go for swims, and I take photos all along. You see what I mean? And then post them on the almost like a diary. Like you put this on the online, and so even like my stories, if you read some of the captions that I write, it's like it's me. It's literally what I've done this morning. So sometimes it's very, very boring, and I apologize for all the people that are reading this. But it's my thing. I like to think that in 10 years' time, I will go back to this and remember that exact day. I will remember when I met, So that's what I like about the Bondi thing.
And you sort of touched on there how it started. When did it start? How soon had you moved to Bondi before you actually started uploading the photos on Facebook initially?
Yeah, I would say probably a year. A year in Bondi. I was not necessarily training initially, and then I was at a party, a bit tipsy, I guess. Like, and two mates say, "What about like if we're doing Tough Mudder?" I don't know if you know Tough Mudder, but it's like those 20 kilometers in the mud. And I never trained before for this type of course. I was like, "Yeah, of course we do it." 6 a.m. on Monday, you're like going for our first training. I was like, "What am I doing? What am I getting into?" But anyway, and so we committed to this, and that's kind of how it almost started. It's like, now I see the sunrise every morning. I start seeing kind of what's going on in, that morning activity, and I would say Facebook and all the social channels made it even more popular. Obviously, you had like kind of people like Eugene from Aquabumps that were kind of already kind of taking photos of the beach and all that. But then, obviously, with all those people on their Instagram posting photos of like what was going on in the morning, it made it like kind of one of those things where everyone wants to go down now. 13 years ago, trust me, there were not that many people down the beach. I mean, less people down the beach than there are now.
Yeah, let's touch on that actually. Well, that's interesting. So, yeah, compared to today, what did the mornings in Bondi look like back then?
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say it's very different. Like, it used to be, like Huge was there, Frothers as well, like the guys from Frothers. So there was like, Frank, Bill, and Brad. Those guys were taking photos as well. And then myself, but mine completely non-professional. But that was kind of, like phones. Yes, of course, people had phones and people were posting stuff, but Instagram was not even there. So was Instagram when I launched Morning Bondi was not even, like a thing. So, like we were just posting on our Facebook. But obviously over time with like, people all having, phones and, like posting on their own Instagram, then that obviously incentivized more people to join in the morning. That's what kind of, I guess, the power of Instagram is, like if you start seeing kind of, quite frequently kind of, post about Bondi in the morning or stories or whatever, then the next day you're like, you know what, you share it with your friends and let's go down, like, and they've seen, dolphins, literally a day after dolphins, you always have like way more people. It's quite funny to see. It's like, people have seen dolphins. It's been posted online, and then next day you've got heaps more people because they want to see the dolphins as well. But as you know, it's like, you don't order dolphins like this. So it's quite funny to see.
So you'd have been going down at what, like 5 or 6 a.m. back
Yeah,
then?
6 a.m. Yeah, but like way less people, I think, around.
Less people working out, less people walking with coffees, walking dogs,
yeah,
doing yoga.
I would probably more say this, but like less of people are taking photos, drones, and like now you see like sometimes we are more in the middle of winter, you've got more photographers than actual people, or at least roughly. You see what I mean? Like there's a lot of people now with their phones, which is great to see. Like, and that's the thing, is like people are all enjoying themselves and all taking photos and videos of what's going on.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So when did you start to notice the Instagram account take off or gain popularity, I suppose?
I got like a few good videos. Like I got a few things where, like when you, like Destination New South Wales or Sydney City or Tourism Australia start sharing your photos. And I'm talking some of them would have been like, 8 years ago or 9 years ago. Those type of big kind of accounts starting sharing your photos, then you get massive pickup. You got like, I'm talking thousands of people starting following you from
in a couple of days, after seeing
couple of hours.
Yeah, wow.
In a couple of hours, I remember seeing the first Tourism Australia. What's going on? Like I couldn't even see what was going on, and then someone tagged me.
What was that picture? Do you remember that picture?
I can't remember. No, I can't. I've had the 3 or 4, if not more, features on Tourism Australia. They've been very good with me, actually. There was even a case study about Morning Bondi at some stage. Sydney City kind of wrote a few articles as well about Morning Bondi, and then I had an amazing photo, amazing, probably not the photo, but an amazing opportunity to have a photo kind of projected on the Opera House that was kind of for Vivid. And that was kind of amazing. Those are the type of moments where you're like, oh gosh, like I've done something pretty cool.
What photo was that? The one on the Opera House?
Just like a surfer. His name was Chris. I wouldn't be able to remember his family name, but like he was there, like like sunrise, and like he was like kind of eclipsing the sun, and it was like projected like in I don't know, like in massive on the Opera House on one of the sails. So it was like amazing. Yeah,
Danny, we're gonna need you to edit that image into the episode, mate, just to let you know.
Yeah, exactly. Edit that one. You can find it on my website. I can send it to you. I think.
Yeah, perfect, man. That's amazing. What's your favorite thing about doing it, Amo?
Again, I think like what I love the most, and of course people see the photos and that's what they think Morning Bondi is. And I think it is, like it's kind of almost that external facing Morning Bondi aspect. But what I love the most is, and since day dot, it's like I hang out with my friends. I do my morning routine where I kind of, exercise. I mean, people would say not so much nowadays. I was like, yeah, true. I don't exercise as much as I should. And then, obviously exercise with friends, go for swim, coffees, and also, and more importantly, meet so many people. And that's what I love. Honestly, it's like every day you will see me kind of chatting to a few people. And that's what I love. It's like, I feel like I'm becoming a better individual, a better person by just kind of, obviously meeting all those people. And, like as you are doing here with the podcast that you were mentioning before, is like they all have an interesting story. I mean, we all have an interesting story. And obviously there are a lot of different type of people. I love the guys at the clubs, and like the clubbies, and like from Bondi Lifesavers. I actually had an idea back then was like to do, obviously Humans of New York. It was to do like People of Bondi. And that was like, probably 4 years or 5 years in doing Morning Bondi already. And I was like, what about if I was just doing an account, just purely, literally photos of people in Bondi, the interesting characters with a bit of their stories. Because again, like there are so many people with so...
You've not seen our Instagram account recently, Amo, have you?
Is that what you're doing? Yeah. But I'm talking like, 10 years ago almost. Like, and that's the thing is I wanted to do this. And then I was like, gosh, like, again, Morning Bondi is a hobby and I love it like this, but I was like, gosh, I've got Morning Bondi. If I do on top of these Peoples of Bondi, plus I've got my day-to-day work, I'm like, gosh, like, it's too much. I need to spend some time with my wife and my wife and daughter. So yeah.
We're just keeping it really simple. So it's a new feature we started on the page, literally People of Bondi. And I've seen a few people have had a few false starts at it.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
It's good.
Not the full story, like Humans of New York.
Yeah.
Don't have time for that right now. It's just name, age, where they're from, and favorite thing about Bondi. Just keeping it really
Yeah, I love
simple,
this.
but-
I love this. And honestly, I should almost put you in touch with some of the interesting characters, because that's the thing, is like you get to meet so many people, and very different people, very different from all different backgrounds, from all different, obviously, I get, yeah, I mean, backgrounds, they all come, I mean, there are a few people like born and bred here in Bondi, but like most of them would have been kind of, coming here, like, in the 70s, 80s or whatever, or like even obviously later on. And yeah, always quite interesting to chat.
Yeah, so that probably leads us quite nicely on to the next question. Is you've obviously been doing this for a long time now. You must see some interesting things, or you must have seen some crazy things in your time doing this. So is there anything that stands out?
Every day there's something, honestly, every day. I recently posted a reel. That was a Friday, I remember, and there was like, a silence disco going on. There were 2 photo shoots going on. I was
in the morning.
silent disco. I was with Eugene from Acrobumps, and we were just pissing ourselves. Literally, I was like, what's going on here? Like, there's like silent disco there. There's 2 shoots going on, including one with Jody Pashnik, one of the best fashion photographers. If you hear this, mate, here, and then there was so many other different elements, and I was like, yeah, only Bondi can do this. And it was 6 a.m. in the morning. It's not like, it's not in the middle of the day. It's like 6 a.m. and you've got all that going on. I love it.
The people doing the silent disco, were they still going from the night before?
No. It started very calm and contained, and then they all went nuts. Like literally, like you had, it all started at 6, I think, and by 6:30, you thought that those guys were kind of,
How good on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, more power to them.
Yeah.
So when you go out, Ammo, in the mornings, like, are you sort of doing activities with your friends, and as you're doing the activities, stopping and taking photos, or are you just going out with, I assume you have a camera, you assume you do it on the camera rather than your phone. Are you just going out with a camera, just going right with the intention to take photos?
Yeah, so good question. Initially, how I started Morning Bondi was exactly this. I was training. I would even go for a run with mates. I would stop along the way and take photos with my kind of, started with a phone and then went to compact. And now I've got like, beautiful SLR. Obviously, I wouldn't run with the SLR anymore because no one would do that. And it would look very weird. And then, and again, it's like one of those things where all my mates are like, basically, you don't train anymore with this. I was like, yeah, pretty much. Like, I'm down there, I'm taking photos. If the weather is terrible, then I'm definitely going to train. If not, if it's beautiful, apparently it's meant to be like this tomorrow, then I'm just concentrating on the photos, which is not great for my dad bod, but great for great for the photos. But yeah, and yeah, that's basically how I do it. Yeah, and obviously always join my mates for coffees or swims. I mean, when I say swims, by the way, it's deep in the water. That's all. 3 times under the water. That's the bare minimum. Even in winter time, you want to do this. That Blake's rule. Anyway, and then that's pretty much how the morning starts. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you have a favorite photo? How often do you get asked that question?
Yeah, I've got one. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite anymore. I mean, it's like, I would say it's people's favorite. I think that's kind of one that helped a lot in terms of like getting the word out about Morning Bondi. It's what I call the first in, first ripples. It's that, I don't know if you've seen this on my Insta or even on the website. It's kind of, it's the first swimmer at the icebergs. I was with my clients traveling. The guys from Netflix US. So I work in social media, and we were kind of working with Netflix back in 2015, and they were like, hey, if we come down to kind of Bondi, I mean Sydney, we definitely want to do a Morning Bondi session with you. And that's exactly what we did that day. And I was with them, like doing the tour guide and showing them around. And there's that person that literally kind of started to dive like lane 5, I think it is, right in the middle. Like he was like just like the most perfect divine conditions, was flat, and there was those ripples along the water.
It's a great photo.
Yeah, exactly. And then people around me, which were like clients and like some of my colleagues, were all taking photos, and they all have the same photos on their phones. I was just the one with the SLR, really. And then that's the one, I think. If you think Morning Bondi, that's the one that's been kind of I printed that one probably 2,000 times. It's now on a gin bottle, as you might know. I've got a gin with the Bondi liqueur code, so we came up with a gin, so you can even see it on gin bottles. It's like one of those things where you see that photos. At least everywhere in my eyes. It's like
So people contact you and say, "Hey, I would like that photo. And
Yeah.
do prints for them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I organized prints, but I was also represented by a gallery back then, and they shut down. The gallery shut down. So I'm not represented anymore by this gallery, but that one would sell literally, I said 2,000, it's probably 4,000 times. Because I've done it probably 200 times, that photo, in different formats, different size, big, small, and then the other gallery would do like kind of massive volume of that photo. Plus now again it's on gin bottles.
Yeah, amazing, mate. No, it's a great photo. Look, Amo, final question from me this evening, mate, and thanks for coming in for this chat.
Of course.
You've been here a long time and you've been doing this a long time, mate. How do you continuously find the inspiration to get up in the morning and do what you do?
Honestly, like if you start doing it, and I don't know, I'm not too much into kind of like those. If you start waking up and looking at kind of going down in the morning, and you do this for like a few days, then it becomes like a drug. Like honestly, that's the thing and I can go party at night. I can drink beers. Like I can drink a lot of beers at night, but in the morning, I love to still wake up and go down. Like there's always something amazing, honestly, unless it's pissing down, as I mentioned before. Like Bondi is such a beautiful place, and with a lot of people. Of course, we get criticized by other parts of Sydney, but honestly, the community, the people that you meet, obviously the conditions. You go you wake up with the sun, you go for a dip, you hang out, on the beach for an hour and a half before going to work. I think it's pretty special. And then you go to work 20 minutes from Bondi, wherever you work, and it's one of those very special places. And so the motivation is there, mate. Like, and if I don't feel it, I'm still thinking, oh gosh, like people still need to see a photo, and I'm going down sometimes just because of that.
Yeah. You can make someone's day. You don't know that, but
yeah, I mean that honestly, I've received, and that's kind of what I love also about Morning Bondi, is I've received so much like love from people from all around the world. And I'm saying all around the world, like in the most obscure places, saying, I read your thing every day, or I see your photos, and I receive like love letters. I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, cool. And it's so nice to see. Honestly, it's so nice to see. And even if it's like brightening, like kind of the day of someone completely so far away that we probably never meet in real life, I think I kind of really like that. I think it's just like one of those things where if that's the only thing I can do today, I will feel very happy about that.
Oh, well, that's a beautiful place to leave it, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming for a chat, mate.
Thanks,
really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.